हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ। तू स्वर की देवी, ये संगीत तुझसे, हर शब्द तेरा है हर गीत तुझसे। तू स्वर की देवी, ये संगीत तुझसे, हर शब्द तेरा है हर गीत तुझसे। हम हैं अकेले, हम हैं अधूरे, तेरी शरण में हमें प्यार दे माँ। हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ। मुनियों ने समझी, गुनियों ने जानी, वेदों की भाषा पुराणों की बानी। मुनियों ने समझी, गुनियों ने जानी, वेदों की भाषा पुराणों की बानी। हम भी तो समझे, हम भी तो जाने, विद्या का हमको अधिकार दे माँ। हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ। तू श्वेत वर्णी कमल पर विराजे, हाथों में वीणा मुकुट सर पे साजे। तू श्वेत वर्णी कमल पर विराजे, हाथों में वीणा मुकुट सर पे साजे। मन से हमारे मिटा के अंधेरे, हमको उजालो का संसार दे माँ। हे शारदे माँ, हे शारदे माँ, अज्ञानता से हमें तार दे माँ। थैंक यू।
Good.
Again.
Oh, Toral, you're here.
Okay, Adi.
Hello. I have to unmute. Hi, everyone. Sorry about that. We were having a bit of technical difficulties, so I was just trying to get that all started.
But glad you're done with that.
So Manu Auntie,
Yes.
what we can do is, as I'm trying to queue up something to play,
Yes.
I think what might be good to do if we can right now, Kalpita, I believe, is here.
Yes, I am. Mainly
Yes.
just let me put a wire.
Okay.
Yes, I
So
am.
if what we can do is we can have, thank you, Kalpita, I appreciate it. So Kalpita, if possible, can you start? So actually what I'm going to do is I'm going to put everybody on mute. So this way we're able to hear everybody hear what's going on.
You put everybody on mute, then we can open the
You eat, go.
Toral, can you unmute Ilaji?
Yeah, that's what I'm about to do. I'm going to end. Gopita, you can unmute yourself because I think what we'll do, we're just going to switch the order of things around a little bit. If Gopita can actually do the prayer to start.
So hold on. Oh, you want her to start right away?
Do you want to wait? It's up to you. I'm
Okay,
still
Kalpita.
trying to queue up the video, Manu Auntie.
Okay.
Yes. So Manuji, why not you come and just begin the program, and then we can invite Kalpita for the.
Okay, so in meantime, you just line up the videos, Total. Okay. So namaste, everyone. My name is Manu Mishra, and I am going to be the MC for this afternoon's program. Today's program is organized by the Hindu Women's Network of Staten Island chapter under the guidance of our eminent president, Dr. Ila Sukhadia. She is instrumental in hosting so many programs on Staten Island and keeping all the women busy. So I'm very happy to see so many of you, and I'm sure many more women will join as we go along with the program. So we would begin the program with Ekatmata mantra, and I would like to invite Kalpita Abhyankar to start the program with the prayer.
Sure. So I will say this. I hope you all can hear me. I
Yes.
apologize for not putting the camera. I have some bandwidth issues, which I hope will be resolved in a little bit. But please don't repeat. Yam Vaidika mantra drishap purana Indram yamam matarishvanamahu Vedantino nirvachaniyamekam Yam brahma shaktena vinirtishanti Shaivayamisham shiva ityavochan Yam vaishnava vishnuritistuvanti Buddhastatharanniti bodha jaina Satshriya kale tija sikha santaha Shastre kite chit prakarit kumaraha Swami ti mate ti pite ti bhaktya Yam prarthayante jagadishataram Sa eka eva prabhuratvritiyaha.
Thank you, Kalpita. Now we are going to present you a dance by 7-year-old Rupa Mehta. She is learning Bharatanatyam. She has a lot of interest in music, Tamil, art, and sports. So let us bring our young artist, Rupa Mehta.
Manu auntie, sorry about this, everybody. So if you can go ahead to the next part, which I believe is inviting Dr. Sukhadia.
Okay.
Thanks, Manu auntie. Sorry about that.
Oh,
I
no,
thought I would have it done.
No problem, no problem. We can play it later. I have the video and I can play that later. So we would like to invite Dr. Sukhadia to welcome everyone and introduce Dr. Sita, who is with us. So Dr. Ila Sukhadia, please go ahead.
I would also request Thoral to unmute Dr. Sita. It is my great pleasure to welcome you all on this beautiful Sunday afternoon when we are about to discuss two very important topics which is relevant to our everyday life. One is women's health and well-being, and the second very interesting topic is the bridging the generation gap. This is organized by the Hindu Women Network of Staten Island chapter, initiative of the VHPA. Health is a state of mind. It is physical health, mental health, social and financial well-being. Staying healthy and happy can help us prevent a lot of chronic problems and diseases and long-term illnesses. Feeling good while taking care of our health is important in our daily life. If we are healthy, we can contribute to our family, our society, and to the entire humanity at large. So first we have to take care of ourselves. So we are very fortunate to have with us my very good friend, a colleague, an excellent physician, Dr. Sita Murukutla. She's going to present today about the women's health and well-being. She graduated from Usmania University from Hyderabad. She's a board certified oncologist and a hematologist, and she has been practicing for last 35 years in Staten Island. She's a very loving, very kind, and very compassionate physician, and she has touched many hearts. One of the patient of hers, she's here, who Dr. Sita has helped. And so, we have a first-hand experience about her compatibility and her, good nature. So she will be talking about 20 minutes on the subject, and we'll have 8 minutes of a question answer followed by that. So please help me welcome Dr. Sita to start her, seminar.
Hello, can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Yes, Dr. Sita.
Hello and namaste to all. Today we're going to discuss women's health issues. We're going to focus more on prevention, so we can see whether we can totally avoid by focusing on preventive measures, and also on the screening methods. Even if by any chance, if you have a disease, by participating in the recommended screening programs, that disease can be diagnosed very early. So we can eradicate it before it becomes advanced and you need excessive treatments like a lot of surgery, chemotherapy, radiation therapy. It's not only for cancer, for any medical illness. Earlier diagnosis will prevent many advanced treatments and the morbidity and the mortality associated with it. That means we need to diagnose very early on and nip it in the bud, so you don't need excessive treatments and you can have a healthy life. Most important is avoiding the risk factors. On the top of that is all forms of tobacco. All forms of tobacco can lead to heart disease and cardiovascular problems, and also all cancer, most of the cancers. We want to focus on healthy eating. Healthy eating, very, very important. And following like a Mediterranean diet and trying to avoid obesity, which is also a cause of many diseases like the heart, diabetes, and also cancers. Exercise is very, very important for a healthy heart and avoiding obesity and feeling good. Sedentary life should be avoided totally. And exposure to sun should be minimized. We should not expose ourselves to radiation or the radon. They all can lead to cancer. It's very important for us to know our own
Dr. Sita, we are having some difficulty hearing you. Dr. Sita, do you get? Sorry, everyone, for some technical problem. Yes.
Did we lose Dr. Sita?
Yeah, I think we did.
Okay, I think she may be back. So she's trying to rejoin. So if everybody could just bear with us a moment, I believe that she's in the process of rejoining us right now.
I think she's trying to get back on.
Yes,
Yeah.
trying to get back on. Oh, let's wait. Let's wait. She's trying to get back.
Yes. I don't know what.
Dr. Sita, are you back on? Maybe not yet.
I think technology has a lot of advantage, but sometimes we also come across this, and please, forgive us about some inconvenience.
I think there's a technical issue from her side, I think.
Toral, is she coming? If you can let her in.
There's nobody waiting to come in. So, Elanti, do you remember what was her sign-in? Was it Dr. Sita?
Yes. Yes, Sita.
Do you see her?
Yes.
You can see me?
She's on,
Oh,
Toral.
she's on, yes.
So if you can just let her.
I can hear her.
Yeah.
Dr. Sita, if you're there, can you just speak? Because we can't see you, but I also can't hear you. I don't think she's on.
Toral, I think there was a sign, it was saying the battery is low.
Yeah, that's when I saw.
That's where the problem maybe started. I don't know.
Yeah, it said your battery is low, and I thought it was my computer.
No, it's not.
No,
our-
because it's all coming from mine. So,
Yes, so that's where the problem is.
The battery is low.
Yes. If you stop recording, then I guess there's no problem.
Yeah, I did see that the battery is low.
Yeah. So we don't, if
Yeah.
you don't want to record, it will be okay.
Well, what I can do for now is I can pause the recording, but
Yeah,
that's
pause,
not the,
Total, pause the recording. We don't need to record.
Yes.
It also slows down. It slows
Yeah.
down too. Oh, she's here, but we can't see her.
so that's what I'm saying. It's not, I understand that that's where the issue started, but if we just ignore that, it should still work. I'm just trying to actually get Dr. Sita back on.
Somebody text her.
Well, she's there. Her picture is there.
That's why I'm at, does anybody know what Dr. Sita's participant
think-
name?
I think Jyoti text her. Can you unmute Jyoti? I think she text her.
I text her, guys. I'm her friend and also
yeah.
a patient.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
I did text, but no response. But she is under the participants list. Her name is shown as Sita.
Yeah, I can see that. Who is the Jyoti?
Yeah, this is Jyoti.
Okay, so I did see your text.
Okay.
Okay. Manuji?
Yes.
Okay, so she's there. Hold on. You know what? I'm going to unmute her. That's what I was asking. So she's there under Sita.
So unmute her,
hold on.
yes.
I'm gonna try. I just asked her to unmute. There we go. And now let's see.
Hi, if you're trying to speak with Sita, there are two
Yeah.
Sita.
Sita is here.
Oh, excuse me.
No worries, we're friends of Dr. Sita, but we're not the Dr. Sita you might be looking for. So I'm gonna-
Okay, sorry about that.
No worries, I'm gonna place myself on mute again. If you need us.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
To help find her, let us know.
Okay. So Manuji, I think
Yes.
we don't want to keep the people waiting.
All right, so,
It may be a good idea to go to the next.
okay, Total, would you like to bring Rupa now?
Sure, we should be able to do that. So
Yeah,
we can
so-
still have everybody bear with us for a moment.
Yes, so we are going to watch a dance by Rupa Mehta. She's 7-year-old.
Khanda? Khanda?
Yes.
Oh, she's back now.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Sita, go ahead. Sorry about all the inconvenience. Go ahead.
Okay,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you,
Okay,
Dr.
Then I
Sita.
was talking about, it's very important to know your family history and genetic history, because many of the diseases are linked not only to the environmental factors and the risk factors, but also to genes, genetics. So it's very important to know the family history. And if there is some people in the family history, if you have a mutation, to know the mutation is also very important. What happens if, say, one person has a breast cancer and that person has a mutation, all her relatives, the first degree and second degree relatives, can inherit that gene. So they need to be checked for the gene. If they have the gene, there are preventive measures to prevent to develop the cancer. Like they can have a risk reduction surgery, like Angelina Jolie, or you can have medication to counteract it, like some tamoxifen, riloxifene,
Unmute her, Total.
Dr. Sita, sorry, can you unmute yourself? Thank you.
Did you? So you did not hear anything?
No,
we did hear. We did hear.
we just the last sentence probably you were muted.
Okay, no, I'm saying, if the family and as a, mutation or genetic history, her first degree and second degree relatives should be checked to see whether they inherited that gene. If they have inherited the gene, then they need to take preventive measures. Sometimes it's a risk reduction surgery, like Angelina Jolie, or sometimes we have medication to prevent the cancer. like sometimes we can use tamoxifen, relaxifin, aromatase inhibitors, etc. And some ethnic, like the Ashkenazi Jews, they have this more prone to some of the genetic mutations like the BRCA gene. It's more prevalent in them. And some people have something called Lynch syndrome. If you have this, say, BRCA gene, you inherit in male and woman and man, both are more prone to breast, pancreas, prostate, and ovarian cancers. Say, for example, one of my patients who is logged in, and she has inherited the Lynch syndrome, and their whole family should be checked, and that Lynch syndrome can lead to multiple cancers. If you know you have the genetic mutation, you can get frequently tested. You can have measures to do to avoid the developing of the cancer totally. So knowledge is very important. So next we're going to say most important is the diet. We need to follow a healthy diet. Out of all the diets, they rated the Mediterranean diet as the best. It has a lot of vegetables, lot of fruits, less red meat, and you need to avoid processed foods and fast foods. Avoid sugar as much as you can. Avoid salt as much as you can. This will help you to decrease obesity and also prevent heart disease, diabetes, and also cancer. This discussing about the diet should be better to start when you are at childhood level, by the parents and the teachers. So this way you promote awareness in the person. Alcohol, it is better to avoid totally if you can. If you have it, the woman should not have more than 1 glass of alcohol, and the man not more than 2 glasses, because it adds up to your total life exposure, and that leads to many of the cancers like the breast, esophagus, liver, colorectal, stomach, head and neck cancers, oral cancers. So that can lead to many of these cancers. Next important thing in women's health is the menopause. Menopause, the woman notices new symptoms like hot flashes, mood swings, weight gain, and that will affect her mental health. So most of these symptoms should be treated conservatively and not with medication if possible. With the yoga, a healthy diet, increase exercise, and sometimes you can try flaxseed oil that can help decrease the hot flashes. Menopausal hormonal therapy has risk and benefits. The risks are many, so it's better to avoid postmenopausal hormonal therapy. If you need to use the postmenopausal hormonal therapy, it should be used in younger people below the age of 60 for a short period and at a low dose. Because the postmenopausal hormonal therapy increases the risk for the heart disease, invasive breast cancer, blood clots, and hip fractures. So it's better to treat it conservatively. The next thing that we notice in women after the menopause is the osteoporosis. It's because of the decreased hormone levels, you develop weaker bones. But it's not just with the menopause itself, but the genetics and the family history also play a role. What happens with osteoporosis? You get more fractures, your height decreases, your shape changes, and your spine develops a curvature. Some people are bent over like a severe kyphosis. If you treat the osteoporosis, you can prevent all these things. So what are you supposed to do? You are supposed to get a bone density every 2 years, starting at age 60. That's paid by the insurance company. So for you have osteoporosis, not only you having the calcium, your vitamin D2, 2000 units daily, but you have medication called biphosphonates. These can be given orally or it can be given as injections to improve the bone health and prevent fractures. With aging, people are more prone to unstable gait and falls, which also increases the fractures. Next is the mental health. Mental health is essential for overall well-being of humans. 1 in 5 women experience mental health condition, and the COVID pandemic has worsened the situation. Younger women are at high risk for alcohol and drug abuse by mostly binge drinking and getting addicted, and that leads to a lot of issues like elder abuse, domestic violence, street violence, and sometimes to total family destruction and early death. So also the mental health depends upon the stress level, the sleep, abuse, trauma, bullying, sexual assault, body image changes. And if you have a family member who is chronically sick, the person who is taking care of that sick person, due to the stress of taking care of the sick patient, also develops severe stress and mental health issues. The family and friends should always pay attention to changes in their close people and help them to get help early, and so things can be prevented. There is help, but it needs to be started early so they can get benefited and get a normal life. Pregnancy and postpartum depression are also very important issues, and again the family and the friend should notice it and help the person to get early help so they can prevent severe depression and so many cases of suicide and family destruction. Yoga and meditation and exercise will all help to improve your mental health and promote healthy living. Next, women have the heart disease and the stroke. That's the most common cause of death and disability. Women generally develop the symptoms 10 years later than the man. After age 65, 1 in 3 women develop heart disease. It's very difficult to establish the diagnosis in women because the presentation can be different. They can present with or without chest pain, especially in diabetic people, leading to delay in diagnosis. And also, it was noticed that the family physicians does not refer women as often as men for appropriate diagnostic tests and procedures so the disease can be diagnosed early. It's important to get a prompt evaluation and also avoid all the risk factors, and universal cholesterol screening and diabetic screening will help to decrease the heart disease and the stroke. And if using low and moderate dose of statins is also beneficial to prevent cardiac mortality. Next, lung cancer, which is the leading cause of cancer deaths, even in women. It's accounting about 25% of the cancer deaths in 25% of all cancers in women age. If you are a chronic smoker and you are smoking for more than 30 years, and if you fall between the ages of 55 or 80, lung cancer screening is advised, and it is paid by all insurance companies. By lung cancer screening, the mortality from the lung cancer has decreased 20%. So knowledge is very important. The smokers, first they need to stop smoking. They should get help to stop smoking, like taking the nicotine gum, nicotine patches, or there are some drugs to help to the addiction. And also, if you are a smoker or you stop smoking last 15 years, you are advised to get lung cancer screening by low dose CT chest. Next important cancer is the second important cancer in women is the breast cancer worldwide. So mammogram screening will help to diagnose breast cancer early. If your age is between 45 and 54, you are advised to get a yearly mammogram. But some women, if they choose, can get the mammogram earlier, like age 40 to 44. But women between age 55 and older can get their mammograms every 2 years, if they choose. The mammogram screening should continue as long as the woman's life expectancy is more than 10 years or longer. Again, knowing your family and genetic history is very important, because if you are going to inherit some genes, you may need more than a mammogram. They may need MRI examinations, and also screening at earlier ages before age 40. And people who are treated with radiation therapy in their younger age, like Hodgkin's disease or some childhood cancers, they are also more prone to breast cancers from the radiation exposure. Those people are also advised to get the mammogram screening, MRIs, much earlier. If you have a family member with the breast cancer, you need to know the age, at what age your family member developed the breast cancer, because usually you are advised to get screened 10 years younger than your family member who got the breast cancer, starting 10 years earlier. And also, women need to know how to self-examine their breasts, and they need to know their normal anatomy. This way, they can recognize any changes in the breast, like swelling, redness, rash, eczema, nipple changes, all these, because you know your body better than anybody else. And if you see any changes, you need to seek help faster, sooner. And also, yearly examination by a physician is important. So this way, you can see anything different from the previous year pay more attention, anything different, and diagnose earlier. Skin cancer is keep on increasing because of the exposure to sunlight, ultraviolet light, and using tanning devices. The cancer is increasing in at a younger age. Especially in women, that dreadful cancer, the melanoma, the highly lethal cancer, is developing much earlier than in men. Women, they are developing earlier, men are developing at a later stage. So you need to avoid excessive sunlight, ultraviolet exposure, and tanning beds, and use sunscreen lotions with SPF more than 50. Light-skinned people are more prone to skin cancers compared to colored people, but even colored people can develop skin cancer with excessive sun exposure. Next important female cancer is the cervix. And there is many people are exposed to human papilloma virus. Worldwide, every year, 45,000 new cases are diagnosed with the HPV virus. This HPV virus leads to many cancers like cervix, oropharyngeal, anal, vaginal, vulvar, and penile cancers. So you can prevent this by taking HPV vaccination starting at age 11 to 12 in both girls and boys. And you can get the vaccine up to the age of 40, and the insurance will pay for that. This one vaccine can prevent so many cancers. Again, screening for the cancer is very important with pap smears and HPV testing. Women between age 21 and 29 should get tested every 3 years with pap smears and HPV testing. And people, there is an error here, but people between age 30 to 60 can get tested every 5 years with pap smears and HPV testing. This will help you to diagnose abnormal precancerous cells so you can get the treatment before the cancer develops. Then at the menopause, you need to educate the women about the endometrial cancer. They need to get help for any unexpected vaginal spotting or vaginal bleeding, and get prompt testing so cancer can be diagnosed very early. Next is the colon cancer. Since 1992, there is 30% increase in colon cancer in people above age 40, like 8.2 cases per 100,000. Because of this, the screening for colon cancer has been decreased from age 50 to 45. So you should get your first colonoscopy for cancer screening at age 45. If your family members have colon cancer history or you have genetic mutations like the Lynch syndrome, you need to be tested much earlier to prevent cancer. Conclusion: by following healthy habits, regular checkups, taking the preventive measures, including the vaccines, especially not only HPV vaccine, but hepatitis B vaccine will prevent hepatitis B liver disease, and liver cancer. And with all this will help you to live a healthy life. If you need more details, please visit US Preventive Services and Task Force's website. Thank you. I just want to add one more thing I forgot to say about the breastfeeding. Breastfeeding is very, very important because it reduces the risk of breast cancer. Thank you.
Sita, can you stop sharing the screen? So, yes, okay. So, Toral, we have a time, 8 minutes of time, Manuji, for a question answer. Okay. So, you can raise your hand through this reaction where there is a hand, you could do that, or you could just, put your hand up for the question. And I think Shobna Ben, I see her that she's raising her hand. And Toral, if you can mute Shobna Ben, then she can, yes. Okay. Shobna Ben,
Hello.
go ahead.
Okay. Hello, Dr. Ila, Sitaji. I want just 2 comments. Number 1 is many women that I know of has a lot of side effects with statins for the high cholesterol, including myself. I've tried different statins in different doses, and whatever has worked over the counter, there is a medicine called cholesterol. It's made from the natural sources, and it's available in all health food store, including Costco. And yes, it is a little costlier, and one needs to start with 2 tablets to up to 4 capsules per day. And it has helped me tremendously without having any effect or side effects of statin. So maybe you can consider that or mention something about that. And my second comment, which is most gastroenterologists and most oncologists never ever mention, they mention low cholesterol, low fat diet, but especially colon cancer and the red meat are definitely related, just like smoking and lung cancer are related. And I think because meat industry is so strong, people like to not mention about it. But I think we as a women, for general awareness and general population, can definitely mention if they have a family history of colon cancer. It is definitely better to avoid red meat as far as possible. And I would like to make that is a strong, especially we are doing the women's seminar. I think it's educational awareness. Of course, every human being has a choice for the diet, but a physician, I'm a physician myself, I'm a retired physician, and I raised this question in CME on colon cancer, and they all mention because we don't have any research done in this country. Yes, but there are but there are researches done in other countries like in UK, in India. There's definite relationship, and America is the one country where the colon cancer is highest in the world, because here the red meat is consumed highest. So why? And of course, the doctor just said because we don't have done research here in America, they're not mentioned about that. And of course, the meat and the meat industry is very.
Thank you, Shobna ji, but I think we should keep the questions very short so other people can get a chance to speak.
Thank you. I'm sorry.
I agree with what she said, and we also suggest to buy the natural cholesterol lowering cholesterol from the Costco, and even Dr. Das also recommends that, and that's a very good alternative. And colon cancer and fiber is important. That's why the Mediterranean diet is important, where you have more fruit, more vegetables, and that is good for the gut health.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Anyone else has questions, please? Yes.
You can also put it on a chat box. If anything, you
Toral, can you unmute Pratibha ji?
everybody has the, they're able to unmute themselves.
Oh, Pratibha ji, you can unmute.
Yeah, sure. Hello, Dr. Sita. I have only quick one question. How much these nuts are helpful in all this? Like
Nuts have a lot of fiber and good fat, good protein. They are excellent. The Mediterranean diet includes that also.
Thank you.
Anyone else has any questions? So I don't think anybody has questions. We can move on. What is the name of the medication? Thank you so much, Dr. Sita.
You're welcome.
That was wonderful. And it is very good to know that everyone has to know their genetic history and how important it is for everyone to have their checkups and go for their mammograms. So thank you so much. It was a wonderful presentation. And I know everybody got something, at least the diet part, the Mediterranean diet, and keep away from sugar and salt.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sita. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity.
There's one quick question before we let you go, Dr. Sita. In our chat box, somebody had asked are there particular cooking fats that are preferred to be used?
I think it's better to avoid animal, fat. Like I know the ghee. Some people believe in all that, but virgin, oil. What we use, that's the best one. Olive oil.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you. So would you like to bring Rupa now, Toral, or you'd like to put the poem?
So let's have Rupa's dance.
Okay.
We're gonna share that with everybody now.
Yes, we are going to do a presentation. Rupa, who is 7-year-old, is learning Bharatanatyam. She has a lot of interest in arts and sports. So let us watch our young artist.
Okay, so we're in the process of starting to share this with you all now. Bear with us a moment. And in the meantime, as we have the video queuing up, if anybody at all does have any other questions on Dr. Sita's presentation, please feel free to either put it in the chat box, or you can even send us an email or questions. That's not a problem either, to Dr. Ila Sukhadia, Manu Mishra, myself, or Pratibha Sant. Everybody has the flyer, so you have all of our information on there as well.
Can I just say something?
Sure, please.
Oh, I'm a patient of Dr. Sita's, and I'm 5 years in remission from uterine cancer, stage 4 uterine cancer. And I do have the Lynch syndrome, and I have now 4 other family members, my sisters and my mom, who also have the cancer. And it is really important, as Dr. Sita said, to know your family history. And I have been lucky enough to be under Dr. Sita's care since I found out I had stage 4 cancer. And she has been wonderful in all of her she of everything to follow. And she saved my life. And she's such a compassionate person, and she's such a genius. She's an incredible scientist, and I love her with all my heart. Thank you, Dr. Sita.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for sharing your personal experience with us. That always goes very far with anybody who is able to do that. Thank you very much.
Yes, thank you.
So right now, it looks as though, okay, we're going to share the video now. So this is the video that Manuati had described. It's of Rupa Mehta, who's age 7. So they're in the process of being able to share this with you now.
Yes.
Would you like to put?
That was wonderful. That was wonderful, really. So Toral, convey our love to dear Rupa. She was so good.
I will. Thank you for giving her the chance. She's
Oh,
very happy.
She was wonderful, wonderful. It's so nice to have the nice talent. She's very good. So would you like to play a poem?
Yes, please. If you can introduce it, and hopefully this will work and I'll be able to play it.
Yes, so we are going to listen to a poem by a very famous poet in India, Jai Shankar Prasad. And this is on women and sung by Dr. Kumar Vishwas. I'm sure you're all going to enjoy this poem. So that was a short poem. It was showing the different shades of women in all walks of life. I want to share just a quote on women by Eleanor Roosevelt. She said, "A woman is like a tea bag. You never know how strong she is until she's in the hot water." So that's what women are really. Unless they are in trouble, they just don't know how strong they are and how well they can defend themselves. So now we would like to move on to the next topic of generation gap. And I would like to invite Toral Mehta to introduce our three panelists.
Namaste and thank you everybody for joining our program today. Thank you very much also for your patience with technical difficulties. This day and age, it does happen, but we appreciate your patience for everything. So what I'm going to do is we are going to have three panelists that are going to talk. We will ask them some questions. They'll give us some answers. And at the very end, they will actually be time for the attendees to do some Q&A as well. So I will introduce them one at a time. And I think that will just be easier. Our first panelist, and Gayatri, you can actually unpin yourself. There we go. I'm sorry, unmute yourself. So Gayatri Nakar, she's actually our first panelist. She is a college student studying at the College of Staten Island. She's studying science and mathematics. She is, let me see, our first speaker. She speaks more than 3 languages, which is always nice to see, and that's not including English, so 4 languages plus. Gayatri, welcome. Thank you so much for taking time out today and joining us.
Namaste, everyone.
So my first question for you is, what, according to you, is a generation gap?
So according to me, a generation gap is like the difference in value.
Gayatri, we can't hear you.
Attitudes between one generation and another, and especially between, like, you know, young people now. So,
Gayatri? Gayatri?
I think we have temporarily lost her.
So,
can you guys hear me now?
What? Yes, but you know what? What might help you?
I can hear.
Can you hear us?
I could hear.
Okay, you want to go with Kalpita and then we come back?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's fine. So Gayatri, what I'm going to do is we'll come back to you. I think what might help is actually, even though we would love to see you, it says that your bandwidth is low. What might help is just speaking rather than us having to see you.
Yeah, just turn off the video, Gayatri.
That might work better. Gayatri, are you able to speak?
Right. Can you guys hear me better now?
We can't see you, and that's okay, but I think that's because of your bandwidth.
Can you guys hear me better now?
Gayatri, you can speak. It's okay. Go ahead. I think you should just shut off your video. Gayatri, can you hear me?
Toral, you may go to Kalpita until she.
Kalpita Thoral, and then we will come back to her.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm going to do. But I just want Gayatri to know that that's what we're doing, right?
I'm going to message her. I'm going to message her.
So Gayatri, we're going to come back to you, okay?
I'm going to call and let her know, and you go ahead with Kalpita.
Guys, I can hear you, but I don't know if you guys can hear me.
You're in and out. So you know what might help, Gayatri? Look, I'm gonna move on to our second speaker. What might help is if you log out of the meeting and then log back in, and we're just gonna switch up the order. So Kalpita will go, and then you can go after her. I'll message her that. So Kalpita, we're gonna start with you. If you can just unmute yourself.
Namaste, everyone.
And do you have your video playing? We can
Yes.
have you there too. Okay, great, welcome.
Thank you.
So I'm gonna give you a quick introduction. This is Kalpita Abhyankar Khare. She actually did recite the mantra earlier on in the session. So Kalpita is also second generation. She is married, currently living in New Jersey, is a native of Staten Island. She also works for Cigna as a business architect, and she's a very active member for HSS in the South and Central New Jersey chapter. Kalpita, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So I will start off with our first question for you. What are your suggestions to bridge the generation gap among the generations that are younger and older than you?
Yeah, so I think it's all about perspective. What I mean by that is that regardless of age, it's about understanding the other person's perspective. Part of that involves just being open-minded. So for example, our parents, our elders, they have experienced life at a different time. So there are things that they have gone through that we wouldn't, probably ever have gone through because times always change. So there's always value in understanding their perspective and just keeping that thought and keeping an open mind about, okay, maybe they don't know technology as an example. That's okay. That's just because when they were growing up, they may not have had as perhaps advanced technology as we do now. But that doesn't mean that you lose that open-mindedness and respect out of that. Even with the younger generation, we also have to remember, I feel like, and I just say this because I have cousins that are a lot younger. We also have to keep in mind that obviously they're growing in a world that is constantly evolving and fast-paced. And I was actually talking with my cousin the other day, and they were just saying how there's this there's TikToks and all these different apps that I personally had grown up with different types of apps, but there are so many new things that I can't keep in touch with just because I may not have an interest. It's not catered for me specifically, my age group. So overall, I would say it's important to understand the other person's point of view, and then just be non-judgmental about it. Keep an open mind. Don't say, oh, why are you looking at this app or using this app or this technology? Just think about it from an open point of view. And then also try to understand, if there's any reasoning behind, why someone is saying, whether it's elder, it may be for our benefit. It may just be their life experience that is trying to, warn us about something to come. Or if it's younger generation, they may be trying to teach us something. We're never too old to learn. So always good to keep that in mind. So just really, I would say, try to have that open mind, be non-judgmental.
Very good advice. Thank you very much. My second question for you is, how do you handle conflict and a difference of opinion when things are getting heated and uncomfortable?
Yeah, so I think the first step in that is just understanding that, okay, this is actually escalating a lot more than it should. right? And sometimes we don't necessarily realize that until we're right in the middle of it, and then there's a problem. So at that point, I think it's important to just take a deep breath. I know, depending on if you're talking with one person or there may be many, it's always a good idea just to take that pause, take a breath, try to just assess the situation. Who is this person that I'm talking with, right? Is it someone younger than me? Is it someone older than me? What is actually, perhaps the root cause? I think it's very important to take that pause. And if possible, it would be good to just, whatever may be, said or whatever may be going on at that point, it may be a good idea once you realize, okay, this is getting very, very heated and it's not going in, a direction of like, positivity or positive constructive criticism or viewpoints or so. It might be good to just say, okay, maybe let's just take a pause here. Let's come back to this. Usually that would help because both parties, whoever it is, will be, just their mind would be distracted with other things. When you come back, your mind will be, I wouldn't say fresh, but it would be something where you're just much more calmer to discuss about whatever may be going on. So I think that taking that breath, requesting a pause is always helpful because you'll be able to, instead of just, scream at each other and just trying to prove a point, you'll really go back to what I said earlier about understanding a different viewpoint and then reaching to a conclusion of, I agree to disagree, or, maybe I disagree right now, but out of respect, I understand what you're saying, but I may not do things the same way, depending on whatever the situation is. There are different options, but overall, I would say it's important to take that breath, take a pause, come back to it, and then calmly, resume that discussion. De-escalate it from that argument to more of a discussion, constructive discussion.
So all great advice, Golpita. I like the fact that you even brought up the aspect of technology because, as you know, today we've had some issues, but I think it happens in everyday life without a doubt. And moving on to that, so would you consider a generation gap as a sign of progress?
I mean, personally, I think we shouldn't necessarily look at generation gap as a progress or regress. I think it's an opportunity for us because we're all, affected by generation gap, right? Whether we're very old or we're very young, there's always going to be someone that's older or younger than you. So I think it's a very good opportunity for those who are older than you to, learn from them, hear stories and such. The time that I had with some of my grandparents, it was good to hear about their childhood, how they grew up and such. There's value in that. And then, even for like younger cousins and younger family members and such, share what I had gone through, provide some advice and such as they go through things that, that I may have gone through as well. So I don't see it necessarily as progress per se, but more as opportunity because all of us has, even now, all of us have some sort of generation gap. So I look at it more as that learning opportunity. And it's a good way to learn about just the past, our current present, and then even whatever potential future that we have with whoever we're interacting with. So I see it more that opportunity. And if you label that as progress, then sure.
Thank you so much. And to sum up pretty much everything that you said, I'm going to use just 3 words because I think these are the 3 words that really stood out. Perspective, pause, and opportunity. If it seems like if we're able to even remember these 3 words, you have helped all of us a lot. We are going to have Q&A, so definitely stick around. We are going to try Gayatri now. So Gayatri, let's see if the second time around is going to help. Thank you, Golpita. I appreciate your joining us.
Hello. Can you guys hear me now?
Yes. So Gayatri, I don't know if maybe you have 2 devices going, but there is an echo. Try again. Maybe somebody was.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. We can hear you now. So I am going to repeat the first question.
Okay.
That's okay.
What was the first question again?
So what, according to you, is a generation gap?
So according to me, a generation gap is the difference in values and attitudes between one generation and another. That especially happens between young people and their parents or anyone older than you. And these differences stem from, older and younger people not understanding each other because of their differences in experience or opinions, habits, and behaviors.
Okay. A difference in values, cultural differences, definitely, without a doubt. Thank you for that. So I have my next question for you is, how do you handle conflict that a generation gap creates in your day-to-day life?
So sometimes with my parents, I try explaining my perspective to someone who's older than me, such as my parents or of a different generation. And firstly, I do try to put myself in their shoes, and I try to see myself in their opinion and how would they handle the situation, and also try to remain respectful and have an open-minded when listening to what they have to say, because regardless of the different experience they have lived through and I have lived through, there's something always valuable to learn in their position and different situations as well. But I do take what they have to say into consideration while I use my own judgment to make decisions for myself, because at the end of the day, it's my decisions, and I'm the one who's living the life. So while it is important to have an open mind and listening to what they have to say, I use that advice and stuff to formulate my own opinions and try to take my own decisions.
Okay, thank you, Gayatri. And my last question for you is, how do you communicate with the older generation, knowing that their ideas are different than yours?
So I try to explain my perspective in a way that they would understand or they could relate to. But I, again, also keeping in mind that they have a huge generation gap and they have experienced life differently than I have, which is also why their beliefs and values are different from mine. I try to make connections between this generation and that generation, highlighting, some things that are very common, but I try to open their mind to different experiences, different examples, and give counter examples to what they have believed, and ask them like, okay, if you see something this way, aren't there ways that this doesn't happen? Or, there are different things that have happened in such ways, and it's not always true that you believe this way. But I do try to keep a, calm mind and a respectful mind when speaking to them and explaining, that there's always just different experiences out there. It doesn't always have to be the way you have thought it to be.
Thank you so much, Gayatri, for sharing your views and thoughts with us. So with everything that you explained, one of your main themes, I would say, that came across is that you put yourself in other people's shoes. So this way you're able to extract what they may be feeling or thinking.
Yeah.
At least in summary, that's what I got from it. So that's definitely a great way of looking at things. So thank you for sharing your opinion with us. So same thing, please don't leave. I'm glad that this is working, however this is working for us. And because we are going to do Q&A after we have our last speaker, okay? Thank you so much, Gayatri. So now we have...
Thank you.
Perfect, thanks a lot. So now we have our last panelist. Her name is Prajakta Balerao. She is, and Prajakta ji, you can actually unmute yourself, and if we can see your video in case your video is not there. So Prajakta ji is a tax professional and a yoga teacher. She's originally from Mumbai and currently is living in New Jersey with her husband and 2 teenage children. She has been an active member with HSS for more than 15 years. Prajakta ji, welcome. And let's see if you can actually, I don't know why. Okay.
Namaste,
anyway, there we go. I was like, wait, I need you to say something so we could see you. Perfect. Welcome. And thank you for taking time out. So my first question for you is, What tools do you use to communicate with generations younger than you when you find that there is some miscommunication?
Yeah, so why I go to the root of this. So why miscommunication happens, or what is the miscommunication? So miscommunication in literal terms is just not communicating with adequately and properly. So the main reasons I find most of the times is we moms are most of the times do multitasking, and we emphasize lot of things in very small time span. So instead of that, if we just focus one thing at a time to communicate with these younger children, I think they absorb more, and they try to find it more easier what we are saying. So that one step. The second thing is do not assume. I don't want to repeat what Kalpita ji and Gayatri ji have said, but yes, we have to be completely non-assumptuous. We cannot assume what these youngsters are thinking about it. And third most important thing is we have to be active listener. Most of the time we just hear other people out, but we do not understand what exactly they are saying. So we have to just listen 100% with our attention what these youngsters are saying, because they use a completely, when they are growing here in the United States or anywhere in the world, their language or their spoken language or their terms when they use is a little bit different than what our generation is using. So in my opinion, it's just good if we just listen to them 100% and do not assume. And after listening, then if we get what they are saying, then that's the key to not to have any miscommunication.
It's a great answer. Thank you. It sounds like what I got from it is focus, don't make assumptions, and be an active listener, which are great suggestions for anybody, regardless of age. So the second question I have for you is, how do you handle conflict and difference of opinion when things get heated and uncomfortable?
Yeah, these are the common scenarios in many of the households. Many people agree, but yes, so conflicts and heated arguments usually happen when we are too much attached to our opinions. So when we have opinions, then and we are so much attached to it, then people start becoming making heated arguments. So instead of that, if we take ourselves from away from those opinions and just focus on what exactly the matter is at that point of time, I think that definitely helps out in any of the arguments or the heated communications happening at that moment. An example would be my teenager wanted to go to the beach trip, and I was like, okay, if you wanted to go to the beach trip, in the beginning I was not ready to say yes, but then when she started really focusing on no, I want to go, then the via media would be, okay, to whom we are going with, do I know your friends? And yes, I found out, yes, she is going with her friends, which I know, with the parents also, which I knew. So ultimately I said, yes, you can go to the beach trip. So this is one way of example, basically, when there are heated arguments with the younger generations. You can keep yourself away as a mother or from that moment, and just listen what the other younger generation people are saying, and then find out a solution to that.
Very nice answer. Overall, it seems like open-mindedness is what we need, right? Probably on both, all scales of people's opinions. So my last question for you is, this is sort of like a double question, or two-part question. What are your suggestions to bridge the generation gap among the generations that are younger than you? And can you give an instance where you may have helped someone to bridge this generation gap?
Yeah, this is a very interesting question too. So my first suggestion would be, it's very good if the younger generation learns the language with which the other generation is speaking. Example would be the grandparents speak in Marathi. If the grandchildren try to learn that language, that would be easier for them to bridge the gap. So an example is my son, though we speak Marathi in the house, and the children over here, they use a lot of technology. When my parents came here a few years back, we found out that in the beginning, these kids were almost on their devices. And my dad, being a professor, he used to talk a lot. But since the kids were on the devices, there was a gap. So what we did was, when they were going back to India, we gave them the iPad, and I asked my children to teach them how to use and all that stuff. Now, when they went back, my children and my parents, they are actually communicating through the iPad on a daily basis, and they share the lot of stuff, whatever happening in each other's lives. So my dad teach Marathi and the digital digits in the local languages and political scenes happening in their regional area. So this is just an example. And now they are well connected. They do want to visit India more often, and they want to remain connected. And another example, which I would like to give from this is all we have learned from our grandmothers and grandmoms, is create opportunities for where different generations can come together. We grew up with a lot of family functions, family festivals, where different families were coming together, staying together and enjoying the moments. And in a while, the learning was happening passively. We did not focus on so many values, teaching actively, but most of these sanskaras happened passively through these family gatherings, looking at all other people's lives and listening to their stories. So if we create these similar family gatherings or create those opportunities where different generations can come together and learn from each other, I think that would be really great. And one example could be, again, it is just, we are from Maharashtra and we grew up with Ganesha festival. We do celebrate here Ganesha festival, where a lot of different people from different communities come together. Now, children do look forward along with their friends for that festival, so that they can mingle with different generations together, the younger ones with the older ones, and they share few moments together.
Thank you so much for taking part and being part of this. It is not every day that we get different perspectives from multi-generations, different ages as well. So in terms of your last answer, what I gathered from that is it's easiest and best probably for each of the generations to learn each other's languages. So I know you mentioned the children learning the languages that you spoke growing up. I would probably take it one step further and say the other way around too, just in case, you know, if the older generations didn't speak English somehow, some way. And what's great is, as we even brought up technology before, you use technology as a tool, which is fantastic because we can do that now and that works for everybody. So that's great. Thank you to all three of you for being on. This is fantastic. So I am going to open up the floor to anyone who has any questions. Please feel free, because it is not often, as I mentioned in the chat, it's not often that we have a chance to ask people of different age groups and different generations how they manage and handle either growing up here, being born here, or coming here at another age. So please feel free to ask questions. And I also open up the floor to our panelists to ask questions as well, because that is how we're all going to learn. Does anybody have any questions? Anyone?
Okay, I will ask one question. Okay, Pratibha ji, you go ahead. Then I will go.
Eladia, you first. Come on, then I will ask.
So, in the conversation, if someone just shut off and doesn't open up, you can see that they are frustrated but how do you go about going further in the conversation? Yes.
Ilanti, was this meant for anyone in particular?
Maybe I would ask Prajaktaji.
Sure, Ilaji. So if younger generation are in an argument, or is that in an argument or just in a conversation?
Both.
Okay. So if someone shuts up, I would suggest just give that other person a little break from whatever conversation or arguments we are doing. Try to come back later, as Kalpitaji mentioned. Try to do that. If that's also not happening, find out who the other person, find out the person with whom that person is most comfortable with. Does that person have a mentor, or does that person have a friend who shares his or her life story? If you know that person, then use, not, I mean, use might be a wrong word, but be in connection with that person to communicate with the younger generation. That would be really helpful.
Thank you.
Pratibhanti, go ahead. You're the next.
Yeah, okay. You know, nowadays we see inter-religions weddings, and there are conflicts because of that. So what is the solution for that?
And who is your question to, Pratibhanti?
Prajakta is, anybody, Prajakta is good. Okay.
Actually, I'm going to put that to two. So Prajaktaji and either Kalpita or Gayatri. So if both of you can answer that question, because it would be great to get the perspective from both sides.
I was about to say that too.
Okay, so I guess I'll start off and then you can add on here. So, I mean, I think from my perspective, if you look at interfaith marriages, I think there's a couple of things. I mean, I feel like, you know, our generation and even the younger generation than me, you know, we've grown up in this environment of we're talking about, oh, you know, we look at different cultures, it's a celebration, and absolutely it should be. However, I think there are certain values that we as Hindus, and I'm saying in this case as Hindus, we hold that it's important for us to, you know, understand the value of and carry forward. So I think, you know, in keeping that in mind, I think as, you know, parents, we should think about, you know, raise, and again, I don't have experience in this, so this is just my thought around it. But I think, you know, it's important to raise our kids in a way that they understand these Hindu values, not in a way of like, I'm, you know, maybe forcing someone to say these mantras and rituals and stuff, but really try to understand, are they understanding the true values? It doesn't have to be that, oh, you know this mantra, therefore you're a Hindu and you're doing it. That's not necessarily the case. In fact, honestly, I can read a couple of scriptures more and learn more and, you know, do that. But, you know, that they really understand what those Hindu values are. And with that in mind, and if they understand that, I feel like, and I say this in my personal experience, they would want to find someone who shares those similar values. So the question of interfaith may not necessarily come up, because when you're looking for a partner in life, you may want to, you know, you yourself have these ideals of a person that share those same Hindu values. So that's one part of it, as kind of a little bit of a preventative way. Now, you know, interfaith marriages, yes, they happen and they could be a great thing, but at the same time, you also want to make sure that whoever, you know, your partner is, whether they're Hindu or not, they understand and respect your beliefs and values. So Hindu values, and, you know, if they're willing to participate in those values, that is great. But at the same time, just respect and allow you to do practice your values there. But I would say overall, if we can prevent it, and this is just something, it's little steps. It's not telling, no, you can't, you know, date a person from a different faith or something, not necessarily like that, but just something from childhood, little things that we focus on inorganically, maybe, or organically rather, would be the way of just little sanskars that when you look for a partner, you see, oh, I want someone who shares these similar values.
Good. Very good.
Yep. So I don't know, Gayatri Prajakta ji, if you want to add on to that.
Thank you, Kalpita. Yep, Prajakta ji, if you don't mind giving your perspective on it, please. Especially with 2 teenagers at home.
Yeah, but I do agree with Kalpita ji, when interfaith or interreligious marriages happen, that's what the partners are looking towards each other rather than as a religion, a partner to share a life with. So we have to be just cognizant about that fact as parents. And I think, yeah, in the beginning, of course, there will be some friction, but I hope eventually we have to adjust with that. And as a parent, if we are open, we will not lose even our children also in that process. If we stay with them as a friend rather than as a parent, I think that would be helping in these cases.
Thank you very much. Does anybody else have any questions?
I have a thought, not a question.
Sure, share,
I mean,
please, Manu Aunty.
That Pratibhaji, that was a very nice question that Pratibhaji put forward, with the world changing so fast that a lot of these things are bound to happen, really. But what I really feel in this interfaith marriages, it is the women who really, really have to be very, very strong. There is no problem. You marry a man from any religion, you love him, you marry him and adopt his ways and adopt his religion, as long as he does the same from yours. What should be in focus for the women is the children that are born out of this wedlock. What do you do with them? Do you let the man take them over and then you have, your religion doesn't play any role? That is where the women have to be very careful. Otherwise, it's a wonderful celebration of 2 religions and 2 cultures, but women have to be very careful with the children they raise, in which religion they raise, really. Because one becomes very strong later in life and then the other party just loses the whole thing. So that is what my opinion is. It is for the women to stand up, really, and say that they have to be raised in both the religions, no matter what.
Yes, no, I definitely agree with Manu Aunty. And I think in that way, like having those organic sanskar from the get-go is very important as parents, whether you're in an interfaith relationship or not. It's very, very important.
It is somebody you like, you marry, but keep in mind the children that you're going to raise, really. They are the real future generation, and that is the generation gap you should be looking at.
Right.
I would just like to add one point over here as a parent. When these marriages happen, yes, when everything goes well, then there is no question at all. People accept. But God forbid, if something happens, as a parent, I think we should not leave our child for whatever decision he or she has made at that point. We have to be with our children in all the cases and give them the support.
That's true. So the
Thank
mothers,
you very much.
The mothers and the women have to stand up for the children, really.
Yes.
Can I ask a question?
Sure, absolutely, please.
Okay, I have a question regarding a generation gap, and this can be answered by any of the panelists. My observation, being raised, being in this country for 50 years, and I have 2 adult children who are in their 50s now, and I'm in my 80, and many of my friends who are between 70 and 80, and their children are young adults, like in their 35 to 45. I have observed most people from our Indian background, individually, they give more importance to individual strength and individual beliefs and individual way of their lifestyle. And we, coming from India and being the first generation here, give more importance to family unit, even extended family unit, also relatives of our extended families. And that is sometimes too difficult for this individualistic minded, nothing right or wrong, good or bad. How do you bring the gap? Any of the panelists?
Gayatri ji or Kalpita ji, if you want to start off first.
Yeah, so I mean, again, I think I kind of go back to what I say about perspective. like since their perspective is more about individualism, it has its space. And I think it's important to show and share the value of also having those family, I mean, I don't know if you want to call it a sanskar or so, but family sanskar, there's value. At the same time, always having that, family environment, it is different for them because that's not something that they've necessarily grown up in, but trying to have a balance between the two, it would be good. So it's not something on either extreme of, oh, they're always in their room doing their own thing and you have no idea what's going on, versus you're always together in the living room and having family time. I mean, I give just these very extreme examples here, but I think it's good to have a balance between them. But at the same time, like if you see the need of your child saying, oh, I just want some space and give me some time, give me some space, I just want to go to my room and do XYZ, whatever it is, I think it's important to just let them do that, but then also express that importance of, no, there should be some times that are allocated that we do together, do things together as a family. So it's trying to bring in that balance there. So Prajakta ji, Gayatri, please feel free to
Thank
add.
you. Anybody else may give any input?
Gayatri ji does she want to share?
Okay, so when Pratibha ji asked for the interfaith marriages, I think that, as far as raising children and what religion to follow and all that, rather than just the girl making a decision or just the boy making a decision, I think they should talk about, both the parties have to talk about it before the wedding, that how they are going to raise the children. This way they can, discuss and decide that they have a clear viewpoint when they have a kids, how to raise them. I think there should be a balance between the two.
Yeah, I agree with Ilanti, because before marriage, things like, having kids and deciding which religion you would raise the kids at is very important, because personally growing up, like I grew up in a really strict Hindu household, and I actually loved, being a Hindu and growing up as vegetarian and stuff. So when I keep things like these in mind and stuff, I always think about, I want to marry someone who's a Hindu, and certain values are incompromisable, like being a vegetarian or doing puja every day and stuff. And definitely, if you're the type to marry someone who's outside your faith, little things like these must be kept into mind, like, okay, which values can I compromise to be with this person and to be happy with this person, versus what values are important to me and which things to me I cannot compromise. And things like this should be discussed before marriage and before having kids, because it also confuses the kids when you marry a person of a different faith and you're raising another child, when you're raising your own child, this impacts the kids a lot, because they're very much confused about their religion, sometimes at this point even their ethnicity and which religion they would like to follow in. So things like this should be also kept a lot in mind, and raising children from having exposure to both the religions and both the races and stuff and cultures as well.
No, I think that was well said, Gayatri. I think one thing I'd like to add, to what you said is I've had friends who were from interfaith marriages, and I've talked to them just when we had discussions about religion, or just kind of like growing up, how is that, talk about their experiences. They've shared at times, some parents have taken the approach of, okay, we'll try to raise you in both, and when you get older you decide which faith you want to follow and such. And personally, like that seems okay, but I feel like that's a little bit of a disadvantage, because why do you have to necessarily choose in that way? Or why put pressure on a kid to say, no, you belong to this particular faith versus another, when, I mean, we're blessed in that sense of, as Hindus, you can really accept the good from any which way it comes. So I think in that it is how do you, and to guys, those my friends at times have been confused, and it sometimes happens that a parent that is very per se religious or so, and they may not be a Hindu or so, they want to really dominate their religion on their kids and such. So it's not necessarily a fair, assessment for them or so, but it's important to have that discussion beforehand. And are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, I understand. Like that's true as well. And your partner, when you're marrying someone outside your religion, your partner should 100% understand what your values are, why we do puja, what is the point of all this, what Bhagavad Gita says, well, things like this, they should understand and to take seriously what being a Hindu really means. And that's true. When you let your partner take over, and being a dominant religion and stuff, you kind of lose some of that bridge with your kid, because as Hindus, we all collectively understand what Holi means, what Diwali means, doing puja every day. But once your kid becomes distant from you, depending what religion, they decide to choose and, to follow through, there becomes that lack of, connection, because as they say, when we do puja together and stuff, we're connected more through God and, doing more rituals and stuff. And this kind of brings us together. But when you see your kid, drifting off, that kind of becomes a disadvantage, as Kalpita Didi said.
So we are talking of a perfect world. You meet and discuss and then decide how you raise your child, and it's done. Marriage is difficult. Getting married in another religion is more difficult. And then raising children is tougher, really. So.
Yeah, true. You're right. Actually, I have one very close friend of mine. She's Pakistani. She's a Muslim, and her dad is from Pakistan, and her mom is a Dominican. And I've noticed that, like, she grew up in a strict Muslim household, and her mom had to convert in order to marry. And not all marriages turn out the best. Some people value being with the partner versus keeping their faith. It really depends on what type of person you are. It goes either two ways. Either you're very strict on your values and you really care about what you think, and yet you want to be with that person, or sometimes you just end up leaving your faith for that person. It really boils down to who you're on, what your values and what your beliefs are. And if you have strong values and beliefs, those are the things that help you guide you through life. And yeah, not all marriages, work out the best in interfaith marriages, but I guess at least having an understanding of what your partner wants from you and what you want from that really helps you through, get through the tough part of marriage.
So along the same lines of this conversation, one of the questions that we have in our chat, and it is a question from Radhika Ji, her question is, what are the reasons for interreligious weddings? If each one believes strongly in their religion and wants to impart that on their child, why not stay within your community for marriage? So that's open to our panelists, anyone. I will take a little stab at this though. So I'm someone who is raised here, born here. I think what happens is, I don't think anyone who, I am very much Hindu. I very much believe in my beliefs, how I was raised, religious, all of that. So just to start off with an answer to this is, I don't think anyone necessarily seeks out to have an interfaith marriage. I think what happens is you try very hard and want to marry within not only your religion, but even within your, I mean, back in the day, it was within your own caste as well. It was very much so. So from that, I think there has been different levels taken off from that. So now it might not be necessarily your caste, but yes, you do want to marry within your culture, within your religion as well. However, I think you need to understand is we don't all live in India. So what we are exposed to is very different than what people are exposed to here when you live outside of India. So again, I don't think anyone's seeking out an interfaith marriage. I think sometimes it just happens based on your work, your school, interests, different things like that. But anyway, I wanted to at least put that perspective on it. If anybody would like to add in, please feel free.
But that's a good perspective, Toral, because you don't go looking for, oh, he's a Hindu, so I should marry. It just happens you meet somebody. But religion only becomes a question when it comes to your parents, really. But that's what I said in the beginning. If the women are a little strong, they still can impart their values, and they also can impart their husband's values, really. If they have, it is the women who really have to be a little strong to carry on into interfaith marriages. That's
One
my
thing, oh no, I think I agree with you. I think that's great. One thing I did want to add, not to this question, but in general about this topic is, so again, being born here, raised here, I do have many friends who have married, who are Indian and who have married outside of their culture, their religion, but not only Indian, I also have other people who I am good friends with that have married outside of their culture, their religion. So one common theme that I think any of them would even agree, and we have talked about that here, is that the first thing would be, it is very important to talk before you get married. Do you want to have children? If you have children, then how are we going to raise them? And what's important to have these discussions beforehand is, yes, have it with each other, meaning you and that significant other. It's also very important to have these discussions, I think, because there's always a doubt. It does not matter if you're 50 getting married, 19 getting married. Yes, you learn things in time with experiences. However, also speak with your parents, because they also can shed light and perspective that you may not see because they're removed from the situation. Now, I think what comes into play here are the three themes, I think, that were told to by our three panelists. One was perspective. You need to have perspective, as well as your parents and your significant other also has to have perspective. Be in each other's shoes. Try to see what they're seeing, not just what you're saying. So that's one thing. The other thing was open-mindedness. I think all of you would say you have to be open-minded. Each of the panelists did talk about open-mindedness in their answers to the questions as well. And I think one of the biggest things that was mentioned slightly, but I think it needs more importance, is support. You need to give your children support. You may not agree with their decisions, and their decisions might be wrong, but if you don't, you need to have these open conversations, but you still need to support your children. You don't want to alienate them. You don't want to alienate the children they have or anything to that effect. The other thing is, you know, we're concentrating so much on, well, I know this is the topic of discussion, interfaith marriages. However, marriages, whether they're interfaith or not interfaith, and I don't mean to put a damper on anything, I'm just trying to give reality to the situation, is that it's possible that a marriage may not work out. Even though you have these conversations and this, that, and the other, but even worse is if you don't have the conversations beforehand. Now, there are innocent children that are also born into these marriages. So you need to support your children, your grandchildren, no matter what, because they're going to need it. They definitely will need it. So I think support is also important. But anyway, so that was all I wanted to add. I know we are over time. A lot of it was due to technical difficulties, but if anyone else does have any questions, please feel free. And thank you everybody for staying a little bit longer. We appreciate it very much. I am going to turn it over to Manu Aunty, who's going to close out the program.
I want to say something.
Sure,
I think
Dr.
if it is interfaith marriages, it's always better to let them date for a long time, so the person themselves can find out. If you say anything they don't believe, it's better for them to experience it and find out, and not rush into the marriage and date for a long time and find out that themselves. Anything you say, it will be taken as negative. So it's better for they need to experience themselves. So it's better to encourage them to date and not rush into the marriage.
Very good. I think, Ilaji, we should have another session for interfaith and interreligious marriages.
Yes,
We will have a
I agree
wonderful.
with you that we can.
We will
So
have a
we now
wonderful
know,
discussion.
we know a really good topic to have. Thank you,
Yes,
everybody, for even
yes.
bringing it up.
This was
Yes, we
very
have a
good
lot
panel
of good
discussion.
discussion, really. It's wonderful discussion. We get so many points really
Sure.
from talking to everybody. So that with that we come to close. We come close to our program, and I would like to thank each one of you for being here. And some people were here; they have left, and thanks to them all for joining. And we need a lot more people to join our program so we can move forward. We're doing more, and we also need suggestions what we can do. So I'd like to thank Dr. Sita. That was a wonderful presentation, and you gave us a lot of highlights and what we should be looking for and precautions we should be taking with our health. And our three panelists, Gayatri, Kalpita, and Prajakta ji, that was a wonderful discussion which brought in Pratibha ji with her questions. So we stayed on a little longer, and I thank you all for being here. And hopefully we will see you all soon. We'll be announcing our next program. Ilaji, would you like to add anything?
I think you said it all, and we should have it more often.
Yes.
This kind of discussion, which is very thought-provoking and helpful.
Very good. So we would like to close the program with a prayer, and I would like to invite Pratibha ji to close the program.
Okay. This is universal prayer, Vishwa Prarthana. Sarvamangala Mangalya Devim Sarvartha Sadika Sharanyam Sarvabhutanam Namamo Bhumi Mataram Satchidananda Rupaya Vishwamangala Hetave Vishwadharmaika Mulaya Namostu Paramatmane Vishwadharma Vikasartham Prabho Sangatita Vayam Shubhamashi Samasabhyam Dehi Tatparipurtaye Ajayam Atmasamartham Sushilam Lokapujitam Jnanam Cha Dehi Vishvesha Deya Marga Prakashakam Samutkarshostuto Nityam Nishreyasa Samanvita Tat Sadakam Spurantwanta Suvira Vratamujvalam Vishwadharma Prakashena Vishwashanti Pravartake Hindu Sangatana Karye Deya Nishtha Sthirastunaha Sangha Shaktir Vijetriyam Krutva Swadharma Rakshanam Paramam Vaibhavam Praptum Samarthastu Tavashisha Tvadiya Punya Karyesmin Vishwa Kalyana Sadake Tyaga Seva Vratasyayam Kayo me patatu Prabhu Vishwadharma ki jai.
I just wanted to introduce one of my friend, Dr. Bharti Palkhiwala. She was speaker in our last Hindu Women Conference. We did it in 2012. And she spoke on generation gap and various other issues. So here is Dr. Bharti Palkhiwala. You can unmute and just say hello. That she's a psychiatrist by profession, and she was one of our speakers.
Yeah, thank you, Ilaben, for introducing me. Hi, everybody. I just putting a chat. Very nice program. Actually, I wanted to tell you more, wanted to talk more about the generation gap. And I also wanted to suggest we should talk more about international marriages, and now they're getting divorces. You know, I don't know, we should invite some young children who are divorced or what, you know, I don't know. It's very sensitive topic, but I think that's my concern. I hear, you know, I have two grown-up children married, but I hear about their friends, you know, the divorce and this and that. It's really heartbreaking to me. They're not, you know, it's a lot happening in our community. So that it's, we need to explore what is the reason, what's happening. You know, we talked about the marriages. Yes, our children, my experience, our children want to know what steps they take in marriage, what is there. They want the short ceremony. They want to understand what is the ceremony and everything. That's we go along with that. It's much different than in India, wedding in India, but how they don't follow the steps. I mean, that's what it is. They're very particular, and something happens. So I don't know. I have myself a lot of questions. What's happened in their marriages? Why they cannot? So that's
next time we can just have a topic like that. I think that's an interesting topic. And
that's a nice topic, and we will explore. Maybe next time we could do something.
Thank you.
Yes.
We could
That's a
actually
good
have,
suggestion. Yes.
that's a great suggestion, and we'll actually also, I mean, we could have an entire seminar on that, but we could also,
yes.
we could also invite people who are in faith marriages that have succeeded as well as not succeeded. I mean, I'm sure each side would have a lot to share with us.
Thank you.
Very good. So that concludes our program. And namaste, everyone. So hopefully we see you all soon.
Enjoy.
Bye.
Yeah, namaste, everybody.
I enjoyed listening.